Hello everyone, this is me again, it's Ian. Um, I'm about to start reading again. I've got loads and loads of true stories from the 1970s, and they're all over exaggerated these days. So I'll give you some real stories that are true. Starting with one about a lady from Mexico who is named La Llorona. They call her the Wailing Woman. So here we go, here we start now. If you want to subscribe, or don't subscribe. If you want to like it, like it. If not, don't bother. Anyway, here we go. At the stroke of midnight, an eerie cry that has echoed through more than 4 centuries is said to be heard in the heart of Mexico City. The mournful voice is that of a grief-stricken woman who wails, "Oh, my children, my pitiful, wretched children." She is La Llorona, the Wailing Woman. Wearing a torn and blood-stained gown, she haunts the night, wailing her grief. According to Mexican legend, dating back to 1550, the voice belongs to Dona Luisa de Oliveros, a Spanish Indian of outstanding beauty who took as her lover a nobleman, Don Nuno de Monte Esclaros. She bore him 2 children, loved him deeply, and prayed for him the day when she would become his bride. But Don Nuno did not return her feelings, and once his passion had died, began to neglect her. Lonely and puzzled, Louisa finally decided one night to walk to the palatial home of the wealthy and influential Monte Esclaros family in the hope of seeing her lover and begging him to come back. She found him, but to her horror, he was in the centre of a lavish party, celebrating his marriage that day to a Spanish noblewoman. Louisa rushed to him in tears, but he pushed her away coldly, telling her that because of her Indian blood, she was unacceptable and could never have become his wife. Hysterical, she ran home to her children and killed them with a small dagger which had been a present from her lover. She fled from the house covered with her children's blood and dashed through the streets screaming until she was arrested and thrown into prison. She was convicted of sorcery. Dona Luisa de Oliveros was publicly hanged in Mexico City, and as final humiliation, her body was left swinging in public mockery for 6 hours. Every night since then, her ghostly cries have rung out, and it will continue, and will continue to. So the legend says until the end of time. And that was the story of La Llorona, the true story. The next one I'm going to read is about a murderer called a murderer who was called Frederick Fisher, who was actually caught by his victim's ghost. So this one starts now. On a dark winter's evening in 1826, James Farley, a highly respected farmer of Campbelltown, New South Wales, was walking near a house belonging to a man named Frederick Fisher. There he saw a figure sitting on a railing and pointing to a spot in Fisher's paddock. So sinister was the figure that Farley fled, convinced he had seen a ghost. Fisher was a paroled convict who had become a prosperous farmer some time before. When he had been imprisoned for debt, he had transferred his assets to a friend, another ex-convict named George Worrell, in order to prevent them being seized by his creditors. After 6 months in jail, he had returned unexpectedly. On June 26, 1826, some months before Farley saw the ghost, Fisher had been observed leaving a Campbelltown pub after a long drinking session, and had not been seen since. Worrell circulated the perfectly reasonable story that Fisher had returned to England on the ship Lady Vincent, but 3 months after Fisher's disappearance, the authorities became suspicious and inserted a notice in the Sydney Gazette which offered a reward of £20 for the discovery of Fisher's body. Worrell was questioned by the police because he had been seen wearing trousers known to have belonged to Fisher. He accused 4 other men of murdering his friend, saying that he has seen them do it. This unlikely tale deepened official suspicion, and Worrell was arrested. It was at this point that Farley saw the ghost. On Farley's insistence, a constable Newland went to the paddock with an Aborigine tracker. He found traces of human blood on a rail, and at the spot that the ghost had indicated, discovered Fisher's savagely battered body in a shallow marshy grave. Worrell was convicted of the murder, and before his execution admitted to a clergyman that he had killed Fisher, but said the blow was accidental. That's another one. Go on, I'll do one more. Um, this one's called. This is about a curse by regarding a man called Barney Duffy. So I'll read this one for you. Barney Duffy was a giant of a man. He towered over the 2 young soldiers, uttering a terrible curse. Take me or report me, ye red-coated, lily-livered lice. Aye, and then I'll hang. But hear me curse on ye. So surely as ye do this, before me corpse has hung a week on Kingstown's gallows, ye'll meet a violent death, the pair of ye. Duffy, an Irishman, had been imprisoned by the British on Norfolk Island in the Pacific Ocean, 900 miles northeast of Sydney. The island is one of the most beautiful in the world, but its past is a long tale of blood. Scores of its present residents claim they have seen ghosts of the descendants of the Bounty mutineers, who outgrew tiny Pitcairn Island and moved to Norfolk in the 19th century, and ghosts of rebellious Irish convicts hanged there after the British authorities shipped them from Botany Bay. The convict's life was a continuous nightmare. Men got 50 lashes for possessing tobacco or singing. They ate with their fingers and drank from buckets. Those sentenced to hang thanked God for deliverance, while the remainder prayed not for freedom but for death. Barney Duffy escaped from this hell and hid in a hollow pine in the thick rain forest. He emerged at night to raid the vegetable gardens of the settlement. His beard and hair were long and matted, and he had just a few rags to cover himself. When the 2 soldiers who were out fishing discovered him, they shrugged off his curse and pushed him back to the settlement with their muskets. Duffy was hanged, and 2 days later the soldiers went to fish at the same spot near the hollow pine. Shortly after, a foot patrol found their bodies, battered and broken, drifting in the tide nearby. To this day, Norfolk Island maps show Barney Duffy Gully, where 2 soldiers ignored Barney Duffy's curse and paid with their lives. Right, I'm going to stop now for a little while, and I'll probably put 1 or 2 more on later, because I'm only learning. So if you want to, subscribe and I'll keep reading, and I'll soon start giving some titles out, and you can pick which one you want me to read, because I've got a lot of old accurate stories. So thanks for listening anyway. Thank you.